So today's community conversation was just not about how you transition, into phase 2 for COVID-19, but understanding that whether it's good or bad, whether you say yes or no, whether you go or you stay still, it causes a ripple effect in your life. Good morning. Welcome to Coffee and Community Conversation with PKO. I am your girl, right? We are here on another Saturday. I'm so excited to be here with you, to have a conversation with you, to talk to you on a topic that I think is real and relevant for all of us, right? I'm here to build a bridge between what you thought and the facts. Come on, somebody, right? I'm excited. I hope your day is well. I see Teresa up here. I see Shirley. I see Tara. I see Jill. Thank you guys so much for joining. Look, if you would do me a favor, could you invite somebody to join in to have coffee with us today? I have Starbucks in my California cup, right? This cup is symbolic of a trip that I took, and I'm going to talk to you guys about that today when I'm talking to you on the topic, the power of perspective. Somebody say the power of perspective. We're talking about the power of perspective today over coffee. We're talking about what we see, what we perceive, right? And what we position ourselves for, right? Sometimes our perspective can shift, right? What we believe, it can shift how we engage. It can shift what we say. Am I right? Or is that just for me? Anyone? Cynthia, thank you for joining. And so, guys, today we're talking about the power of perspective, but I'm not going to start Coffee and Community Conversation without a kick-off question, right? I want you to tell me about a situation. Drop the comment below that your perspective was changed. You went into a circumstance, into a situation, believing one thing, and then when you got there, you realized that it wasn't true. Your perspective changed. Something shifted, right? And who am I talking to? Has this happened to someone? If this has happened to you, I want you to tell me below. Thank you for tagging people in here as well. I appreciate it so much. And so when have you been in a situation where you have had to have your perspective was changed? You went in there believing one thing, and when you got there, you're like, oh, it's not what I thought it would be. Anybody? I've been in that situation a couple of times, but Coffee and Community Conversation is not about me and my coffee. It's about us, right? It's about the sister friends. And so give me a situation that you have been in where you went and you said, you know what? I thought it was going to end this way, but it ended up another way, right? Who has been through a situation, and while we're waiting for one person to comment about a situation that was similar, I can say that I went on a trip a couple of years ago with someone, and I thought that this was what was going to happen. And when I went there, my perception of it changed. My perception was predicated right on my past. I just said something right there. My perception was predicated on my past, and I'm going to go into details. Cynthia said, it's happening to me now. I'm changing my perspective now about so many things, right? And your perspective change happens based on your experience. It's based on what's happening in your life. Are you guys ready for today? Are you guys ready for Coffee and Community Conversation? If you are, somebody say, I'm ready. Since we started with the community kickoff question, right? What's next? What is perspective? Perspective is a particular attitude towards or a way of regarding something. It's a point of view. Somebody say it's how I see things, right? It's how you see things, right? So perspective is based on how you see things. And we see things based on a lot of different situations and circumstances. So perspective is also your capacity to view things in true relation or into relative importance. Remember, your perspective is based on your past. And this is why it's important with where we are now in our country, right? Your perspective can shift what you do, who you engage in, who you engage with, the conversation that you have. Your perspective can determine who you connect to, right? And who you divide from. Look, this is good already, right? And I haven't even jumped in and got started. Your perspective, right, can position you in the place where you miss a moment because of a past experience that you are actually being called to be positioned in. And so perspective is important, right? And so when we begin to look at perspective, there's some things that I want to highlight for you guys. Did you know that perspective had to be discovered? Before the 1400s, paintings, artwork simply lacked accurate perspective. Instead, watch this, the important people in the pictures, in the artwork, were more prominent, and the objects that they wanted to highlight were more prominent than the less important ones. So because they couldn't define perspective, they defined it, by size in photos. Before the 1400s, paintings just simply lacked accurate perspective. And so when they wanted to highlight someone that they believed was prominent, what they did was make them bigger in their art pieces, right? And I mean, that's something. And so I don't know if you've ever seen on social media those paragraphs that says how many F's are in the paragraphs or how many lines do you see. Those answers are usually predicated on how your perspective is. It's predicated on what you see from your eye, right? What you are looking at from your way of perceiving a thing. And so we all look at things different. And that's because of our past. It's because of our position. It's because of our experience and our emotion, right? And for some of us, even education, right? It defines what we look at. And so today I want to help you change what you see and change how you see it. Somebody write this in the comment area and say, my vision is changing today. How I perceive a thing is going to shift today. How you perceive a thing is going to help you reposition yourself in purpose and in power. And when I say purpose and power, I'm not talking about the church. I'm talking about the power within you, the power within you to believe that greater is possible, the power within you to be confident, the power in you to believe that you deserve the job that you're in or you deserve even better, the power within you to say, I'm a great mom, I'm a great wife, I'm a good ministry person. Like all those things, your perspective will change not just how you see people, but it first has to change how I see myself. Somebody write this down, say, I see me. I see me. I see me. You have to be able to see yourself before you can see something else. Perspective is not just outward facing, it's also inward. This is good already, guys. This is good. And so when you begin to look at perspectives, and I go back to the great Dr. Seuss, they have a quote that says, today you are you, that is truer than true. There's no one alive who is youer than you. And so when you look at this quote in the Dr. Seuss books, the word you and truer and no one is highlighted. And because of what I understand from past perspectives and how it was defined before the 1400s in artwork, I understand that the size of the words is trying to indicate prominence, is trying to indicate the importance of what's positioned. And so Dr. Seuss is saying, look, I need you to see you. I need you to see the word true. I need you to see no one. I need you to see you. I need you to understand how you perceive yourself as powerful. I need you to see how you perceive yourself can position you in purpose. I need you to see yourself in a way that you may not have seen yourself before because of what you experienced, because of what people have said, because of the circumstances that you have faced, because of the job that you have worked, because of some of the things you did in your past. Your perspective of yourself has changed. But today, I want you to shift how you see you, because if I can help you shift how you see you, I can turn you around and show you how to see things in a more powerful perspective. Is this good or what? Is this good or what? And so look, when you're teaching people perspectives, they have to identify with the purpose of what you're teaching them. So you have to find meaning and learning and relation and seeing yourself. How important is it for you to see who you are? How important is it for you to see what you can become? How important is it for you to begin to see yourself outside of the scope of how people treat you? I'm going to wait. How important is it to see yourself outside the scope of how people treat you? It's important, because if you predicate your perspective of who you are based on how people treat you, you will think that you're not valuable. You will think you don't have the victory, and you will think that people are setting devices up against you. Am I right? Am I right? Who am I talking to? Right? Am I right? We would begin to believe something about ourselves that's not true because of how people engage with us, right? And so you have to begin to change your perspective of yourself. You have to begin to see me differently. I see me because I saw God first, because I know who He is and what He's done and what He's designed for my life. I don't have to see myself as weak. I can see myself as powerful. I don't have to see myself as losing. I can see myself as victorious. I don't have to see myself as a person in lack. I can see myself as a person that's walking in unlimited resources because of who God is in my life, right? And so I'm not sure who this is for, but God woke me up this morning and said, when you pick up your coffee and you start this conversation, you need to talk to the people that's watching about changing their perspective, changing their perspective. I'm changing what I see about me first before I see it about others. And now look, guys, I'm going to give you guys some language that I'm going to explain. I call this the core, Connect Four. There's an old game called Connect Four, and you would have to use either a red or a black little coin looking like thing that was plastic and put it in to a flat board. And if you got four in a row, you would have Connect Four. Connect Four for me are competencies. And I'm teaching you something now. Competencies, a meaning competency, where you identify the purpose, right? And act from the preferred future. I know what I want and I'm going to plan ahead because I know what I want to gain from the situation. A relation competency, the ability to create and nurture your connections. So who am I connected to that's helping me continuously shift my perspective? They say that you are equal to people that you surround yourself by. Who are you connected to that's helping you nurture your perspective? Number 3, a learning competency. You have to be willing to experiment with a set of solutions. If something hasn't worked, you have to be able to rework it or work again. You have to be able to do it again. And then a change competency, that a change that will promote the purpose, right, of who you are, the purpose of the shifted perspective, and make the preferred future of walking in power and in purpose come to life. And so I call this the Connect Four: a meaning competency, a relation competency, a learning competency, a change competency, a Connect Four. This is going to help me connect, right, to my purpose and my power, but it starts with my perspective. Is this good? Is this good? Is this good? We're having smart conversation today, right? And so today, when we're changing perspective, somebody write this: I have to change my mind. I have to change my language. I have to change my behavior, right? You have to change your mind, your language, and your behavior. And I'm going to show you how you do that because you are looking at you first before you outward face. Am I right? And so I'm going to give you guys this cool example, right? Who saw the Karate Kid? In the movie, The Karate Kid, right? He learned how to fight because he was being bullied. And at the end, right, the final scene, we see that he was hurt because the opponent cheated, but he gets up enough strength, right? Enough grit, right? Enough confidence in himself. And he begins to perceive that there's a possibility that he could win. So he picks himself up, even though he's injured, and he holds his hands up with one foot up in the air, and he makes this kick. It was the kick for his life. It was the kick that was going to shape a defining moment, right? That he had experienced all this time. And so you are at this moment right now where you have to position yourself for this kick because your perspective is your kick. It's time to take down, oh my goodness, it's time to take down doubts. It's time to take down low self-esteem. It's time to take down you believing that you're not good enough. It's time to take down that you don't deserve better and bigger. This is the power of perspective. For coffee and community conversation, you have to change some things in your life and you have to be willing to knock it down. Are you with me? Is this good or what? Yeah. And so what you'll learn in this process, guys, and I'm going to walk you through some meanings, is that when you define what you want, right, you can shape a plan to get there. You'll find that you have superpowers. You'll find that you're powerful beyond measure. You'll find that there's things that you can do that you never expected you can do, but it's going to require you not just to lean in, but to learn about who you are, to learn about what you can do. Are you here? Are you here? So I want somebody to help me write these notes. Number one, how do I change perspectives of myself so I can change my perspectives of other people? Number one, somebody write this for me. Engineer your expectations. I said engineer your expectations, right? And so engineers work from principles of math and science to develop solutions. And so you have to work on the principle, not of how you feel, but the principle of facts. We have this fight or flight moment in our life where we don't want to face things, so we run or we fight with it. But today I want you to engineer your expectations with facts, right? And what does that mean? What solution do you want to solve in your own life? What do I want changed in me, right? What do I want changed in me? When you engineer your expectations, you define what you want changed in you. Nobody else can define it for you. And that's the problem, is that we go looking for somebody else to shift something in us that we need to shift ourselves. My goodness, have mercy. Engineer your expectations. And an engineer, watch this, guys, an engineer, I told you, applies principles of science and mathematics to develop solutions. But there are 4 categories that engineers do on a daily basis. They communicate, they problem solve, they analyze, and they plan. And so I want you to take that method and use it in your life. Communicate with you what you want, right? I want you to problem solve. What do I need to dress in me? I need you to analyze what should be fixed and what shouldn't. And then I need you to create a plan so that you can move yourself in the direction of a perspective change, right? And so I want you to, number one, engineer your expectations, right? Number 2, who's ready for number 2? Who's writing it for me? Who is writing it for me? I want you to acknowledge when something isn't permanent. Acknowledge when something isn't permanent. And that's a big one. You ever heard the saying, don't make a permanent decision in a temporary situation? A lot of us have looked at situations and we believe that it's permanent because of the emotions that it stirs at that current time. Am I right? And so when you acknowledge that something isn't permanent, you realize that if I can't change it, I can classify it. Ooh, that was good, right? If I can't change it right now, I can classify it. And so you may not be able to change what happened at the moment, but it's not permanent. You can classify it. When you classify it, you compartmentalize it. You put it in a position where it no longer affects how you feel. It no longer affects how you want to fight. And it no longer affects where you want to go. Classify it. If you can't change it at the moment, classify it. Put it in the box somewhere. Put it behind the closed door. Put it in your prayer closet, right? Put it on the prayer list. Put it in the prayer circle, right? Put it underneath the bed. Whatever you're doing, if you can't change it at the moment, classify it. Classify it and compartmentalize it. Put it in a position where it's no longer affecting you the way it's trying to affect you, right? Because sometimes we have to suffer through moments, right? And situations where it doesn't feel good, but it's because we're being groomed for something greater, right? And so you may be in an uncomfortable situation now, but if your perspective changed and you would see yourself as powerful, if you would see yourself as purposeful, you would realize that this ouch that you're experiencing is for your amen. You would realize that the situation that you're going through right now is not to take you out, but to send you up. Look, that was good right there. And so if I can't change it, I'm going to classify it, right? I don't like the way this thing feels in my life right now, but I'm going to put it in a place where it's not affecting me the way it normally affects me. Is this good or what? Is this good? That's right. If you can't change it, classify it. So number 2 was acknowledge when something is permanent and when it's not, right? So next one, look for the benefits. I know. What does that mean? Look for the benefits. There is bounty in your brokenness. There is bounty in your brokenness. Look, when and I can go to scripture and give you a scripture, but look, there is bounty in your brokenness. Something comes out when you are broken. When you are experiencing tough situations, something happens. Something releases. It's the oil. It's resilience. It's grit, right? It's power. It's patience. All those things are released when you're going through a season of brokenness. Look for the benefits. If your perspective was shifting, thinking that these things was just to build up a barrier or to break you and not to give you anything, it's a lie. There is something coming out of your situation. There is profit from your pain, and the profit may not just be cash flow. The profit may be consistency. It may be clarity on who you are and what you stand for. But there is bounty. There is a benefit in your brokenness. There is something that is coming out, but you have to be able to see it. And you can only see that if you can see yourself. I said we're talking about the power of perspective. perspective of coffee and community conversation today. My goodness, is this good? What are the outcomes that I expect? Because if I can shape the outcomes that I expect, then I can build a plan to get there. We have to set ourselves up. So many times we set ourselves up to fail. And what I mean by that is that we believe something is going to take place, and when it doesn't meet our expectations, we believe we fail. But your expectations is shaped from your education, your experience, right? And how you engage with people. And that comes from your perspective. If I have a perspective of a situation not being good for me, then I go into the situation already doubting. How many of you have tried to listen to somebody speak that you weren't really feeling, and so everybody else got something from their conversation, but you didn't get anything from it? And it was because of your perspective. Your perspective can hinder you, it can hurt you, but it can hurt you, but it also can reposition you in a place of power if you begin to view yourself and view things differently. Is this good? I'm almost finished, y'all. Look, look, and look. Set myself up for a takeaway. Set myself up for a takeaway. Right? What does that mean? I told you that there is bounty from your brokenness. There's something coming out of it. What do you expect to get out of the situation? If it's friendship, right? If it's clarity, right? If it's position, right? If it's something tangible, like set myself up for a takeaway. It doesn't matter what I face in my life. Something is coming out of it. I'm not going to be pushed with my back against the wall. I'm not going to cry these tears. I'm not going to suffer through the pain and not get anything from it. The devil is a liar. Something is coming out of it, right? There's a takeaway. There's a takeaway from the trauma that I experienced, right? That's hindering my perspective. There's something coming out of this. Now, let me walk you down. I gave you ways to change your perspective, right? And now I need to go into the power of you. I need to build this bridge from how you see yourself to get to where you are so that you can be the one to receive it. I'm about to give y'all a quote that you heard all your life. All your life, I've heard people use this quote. All my life, I've heard people define this thing and use it in arenas, on stages, in corporate organizations, in my household, and school teachers use it. They use it in every industry that I have ever had to encounter in my life. What is it? Look, don't judge a book by its cover, right? And so when you say don't judge a book by its cover, that means that you have to shift your perspective. Listen to what I'm about to say. You have to change your perspective, right? The cover doesn't classify the content. Somebody needs to write that. The cover doesn't classify the content, right? The cover is just a picture, right? But it doesn't classify the content that's on the inside. And so you have to begin to tie those things together. The power of perspective is not based on what you see. Oh my goodness, it's based on who you are. I just walked y'all through a powerful revelation. I just said the contents of what you your perspective is not based on the contents that you see. It's based on who you are, right? And so vision is not an I thing. Vision is an I thing. If my perspective is powerful, if my perspective is passionate, if my perspective, right, sees me positioned, then everything that I look at after that is going to fall in line with how I perceive. The cover don't classify the content. That's right. Don't judge a book by its cover. You may see me struggling. You may see me in a circumstance or a situation where I'm not doing well, but that doesn't mean I'm not filled with power. That doesn't mean I'm not filled with purpose, right? Don't judge a book by its cover. That's right. You may see me shifting in my life, but the shift is temporary. Listen, watch this. The shift is temporary. Remember, we understand, and I'm classifying it and compartmentalizing it to where it has to go. Don't judge a book by its cover. You may have seen me serving almost 5 years in prison, or you saw me in the green jumper with the numbers 99GO789, but don't classify me as a convict. My goodness, don't classify me as a convict, because God is shifting me to Are we still live? Are we here? Something just happening. Ooh, I bind it. Can y'all see me? If y'all can see me and hear me, somebody give me the thumbs up and I'll keep going. Anybody? Anybody? Can anybody see me or hear me? Anybody? Are you there? Can you see me or hear me? Okay, my goodness. Okay, can you see me or hear me? Anybody? Anybody? Let me see. Are we still here? Okay, good. So listen. Something is happening. This is some encouragement for somebody. I would not hit end for anything because I believe I have to finish, right? And so we're talking about don't judge a book by its cover, right? And so you cannot form an opinion about someone or something by looking at the person or a thing's appearance, right? If you're looking for a book, you might only look at the cover. But in order to choose the one you like, what do you have to do? You have to read. Somebody say you have to read. You have to read. And we need to begin. I felt a wind. I felt something. I felt something happening. Right? You have to read. You have to read to recognize who you are and what you stand for. You have to read. You can't really get to know someone unless you have a conversation with them, unless you engage, right? Unless you connect, right? And so don't judge a book by the cover. You can't look at what you see and determine who I am. Somebody write this down in the comment area and say, there's more in me than what you see. There's more in me than what you see. You may see me show up in a sweatsuit or in some fitted jeans and heels, whatever it is. There's more in me than what you see. You can't classify the book by the cover. There's content that you have to read first, right? There's something else on the inside of me. It's bubbling, it's brewing, and you can't see it because you can't get past the surface. Somebody say perspective. 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 So look, there's perspective taking and perspective seeing. Perspective taking things from various viewpoints. I see it from your way and my way, right? And perspective seeking is looking at things objectively rather than one-sided. I look at it over here and I look at it over there. And when you understand the power of perspective, the power of how you see, the power of what you believe, it begins to trigger the power of how you engage and what you experience, right? What you experience and how you engage is predicated on how you perceive. If you see something wrong, it becomes wrong. How many of you have had a fight with your boo and you were so mad at them and you gave them the look and you was like, I'm sick of this joker. But in your mind, you knew that wasn't true, but you begin to perceive the situation differently. It was predicated on your emotions. Oh my goodness. And so your emotions, your experience, and your education will shift how you perceive things. That's why you have to engineer your expectations. You have to acknowledge that whether something is permanent or not. You have to look for benefits. There's a bounty, right, in your building, and then you have to set yourself up for takeaways. My goodness, this is good. Let me tell you about perspective. It's a story about a young girl who thought that she couldn't do anything. She would sing in the house, sing in her shower. She would dance around, and people would tell her, "You're so crazy. Why you're singing? Why are you dancing? Why are you so happy? Why are you always bubbly?" And it was because the people around her weren't used to seeing what she did. Listen to what I'm telling you. The people around her weren't used to seeing someone like who she was. They wasn't used to seeing someone who sang, seeing someone who was happy, seeing someone who would dance, right? Well, remember David danced, and it was unorthodox for the king to dance, but people judged him because of how he danced, because he wasn't surrounded by people who understood what was happening in him. They saw his cover, but they didn't understand his content. And the same with this young girl, right? She decided, right, to keep dancing and to keep singing, right? And she decided to apply for a small play. She applied for a small play, but that play led to another play. That play led to another play that led to Broadway, and that led to film. There's power in perspective, how you see yourself, my goodness, how you see yourself is predicated on your position and how you walk in power. It is predicated on your position and how you walk in power. Now I'm going to close with this. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, Canarsie. My mom worked for one of the big fours. My dad is in investment banking. He was part of a firefighting team. And so if his team showed up to your company, that means that there was an audit that was about to happen, that somebody was in trouble because the money was funny. I used to sit under his desk, right, on Wall Street and hear him talk about numbers. All my life, I wanted to be a lawyer, right? Or I wanted to work in for forensic science doing autopsies on bodies. You know, I went to school for doing autopsies on bodies. I've done an autopsy on the body, right? But there was a time in my life where things changed. It became so hard, and my perspective was that there was no way out. And what that did is that it led me upstate to Troy, New York, where I took on a new trade. I took on the drug trade. I created a street enterprise. I built a team. I was really good at it until one day I had a dream, and the dream that I had, it showed me going through the highway on exit 787, on Highway 787 at exit 23 south on Albany. In my dream, I was going through the exit and the cops were chasing me. And so I was on my way to New York, and my mom asked me to stay. And I was like, no, because my perception still was that I couldn't go home because of all the things that had happened, because I was tired of sleeping on the streets or riding the trains. I needed a bed to sleep on. I needed safety and security. And so I went back upstate, and we was going back upstate, and we had a car full of drugs, right, in our trunk. And we were on our way back upstate, and I was pulling through, watch this, exit 23 on 787 South, the same exit I saw in my dream the night before, and immediately the blue lights flashed. When I was on my way through the exit, I was already afraid because I had a dream the night before that I was being arrested in the same position, and then the blue lights came on, right? God gave me an option. My mom was telling me to stay, but I thought I could not stay because of the perception I had of my situation. I thought that my only way out was to go back upstate and to continue what I was doing, to be the person that I was, that was selling drugs, that was toting weapons, right, that was engaging in criminal activity. I thought that that was the only person that I could be. And so because of that, I made the decision, right, to look at this perspective, that I had to be on those streets, right? And so when I pulled through the exit, I was already shaken. I was already terrified because I had a dream that I was being arrested in the same spot. Guess what? I tried to run, but I was arrested in the same spot, right? God had sent me a dream as a warning, but my perspective put me in the position that I decided on my own. I perceived myself as failure. I didn't perceive myself as more, and I ended up serving almost 5 years in prison. And it wasn't until one day that an evangelist came in and told me that he came for me. And I opened up my mouth and confessed. And I opened up my eyes that night after I said yes. And I looked around, and God said to get on your knees. I got on my knees that night, right after I rededicated my life back to God. I got on my knees. And when I opened up my eyes, it looked like angels were all around me. What are you saying? I said, I am saying that the connection, the experiences that I was happening wasn't because of my just experience. It wasn't just because of my emotions, but God was shifting me. He was changing what I saw. I no longer saw my situation as dire. I no longer saw my situation as dim. I knew that my destiny was being dismantled by the devil. But the day I said yes and got on my knees, my eyes opened. I saw God. And because I saw God, I was able to see me. Listen to what I'm telling you today. There is power in perspective. And so I got up. I wore state greens for 3 more years. I wore a green shirt, some green pants with the DIN number that said 99GO789, and that's all they saw. But when they look back, hey, God, today, they don't see the inmate. They see the woman that walks in power, the woman that walks in authority, the woman that walks in purpose. Don't look at my cover. You have to see my content. Come on, somebody. The power of perspective. I know you've been through some things. I know you had experiences that reshaped how you saw yourself. But today, if you would see God, He will see you, will see yourself. It's time for you to stop worrying about what these jokers see in you. I need you to be more concerned with what God said and how you see yourself. There is power in perspective. There is power in perspective. Something changes when you see yourself differently. Something changes. Something changes When you no longer let what they said about you in your past define who you are, something changes. When you begin to walk in confidence consistently because you have clarity of who you are and what you stand for, something changes. When people still look at you like you a convict, but you know that you've been more consistently and there's more inside of you. There's content. You may see my DIN number on the cover, but there's more inside of me. You may see a black girl, but this black girl powerful. Hey, God. There's more inside of you than what people see and what you say. And we walked around with the lack of confidence for so long because we wait for somebody else to validate who we are. Since today's your validation, it's time for you to see yourself. It's time for you to see yourself. It's time for you to see who you are. And if you shift who you are, you would begin to shift who you see. If you look at yourself differently, you would begin to shift what you see. And the situations that you face will become different. When you're going through pain points, you'll realize that it's not permanent, it's temporary. I can compartmentalize it. I can put it in a position where it belongs for this season and handle it accordingly because I see me. There's more in me than just pain. There's more in me than just disappointment and doubt and lack of confidence. There's power. Oh my goodness. There's a push. And there's the yes that I gave. My goodness, have mercy. My goodness, have mercy. Today, this is what I hear on Coffee and Community Conversation. And you'll know I have to be obedient. I hear God saying that he wants to release a wave of confidence. And not just confidence, but consistent confidence. Because if you have consistent confidence, you will have clarity on who you are. Consistent confidence. Not just confidence when you dress up and look nice and put on your lipsticks, but confidence even when you don't have on makeup, even when you're not dressed, even when things aren't going right, even when you feel like you're not good enough. You have confidence in him. And if you can see him, you can see yourself. Confidence. So I speak to your spirit right now. I speak to the inside of you, and I pray that your confidence would be stirred, that the confidence of Christ would begin to invade your mind, that it would invade your heart, it would invade your spirit, it would invade every circumstances connected to you, that it would saturate your house. Hey God, it would saturate your speech, it would saturate your circumstance, it would saturate how you stand, it would saturate what you see, that the confidence of Christ, how it would bust through the door, it would break through windows, it would enter into your heart, and you would receive it like you've never received it before. My goodness, and that you would be consistent with it. You would walk in boldness, you would walk in bravery, and you would walk in power. We've been planting seeds for a long time. Listen, look, we have bloomed, right? It's time for us to get some wood and build the storehouse for all the harvest that God is going to give us. Listen to what I'm saying. I pray that consistent confidence invade you like you've never seen it before, that it blows over your house, that it blows over your mind, it blows at your job, that it blows in everything connected to you. That you would be overcomers. That you would walk in power, you would walk in position, and that your head would be high, that you realize your cover is not who you are. You have content in you. You have content in you. You have content in you. Do you receive that today? How is this drink today? This Coffee and Community Conversation drink? How was it today? I thank you that everybody's getting a new wave of who you are. That the people that mismanage you, you would be reminded that they're not responsible for your mandate. That's between you and God. God is shifting things in our life. He's shifting things. And you have to see yourself. Now look, I wasn't going to even mention this. Most of you know that I have this compound anointing. I do ministry, I train teams independently, and I also work for a company locally. And the company I work for locally was recently featured on Dr. Oz. And so I'm in there talking about why I jumped in, why I decided to say yes to this opportunity. And it was because I could relate to the situations that the team members that are that work there were going through, because I grew up the same way. Listen to me. I grew up on the block. I grew up kicking down doors. Listen, y'all. I didn't send anybody to do my dirty work when I was growing up. I did it myself, right? I was the enforcer, right? Because I still had to protect my people. And so I know what it feels like to be on the block. I know what it feels like to have to protect you. Walk around with my daughter. She was 1 year old and I had to carry a Glock 9. I know I'm not saying too much, because I knew that people were looking for me. And so I couldn't leave my house or walk with her without being protected. I understand the life, right? And so, but at the moment when I was arrested on 77 South Exit 23, I was broken. I was behind bars where they told me when I could sleep, when I can eat, what I can eat. I was insulted by officers who wanted to look at me while I was in the cell undressing. Come on, somebody. I'm saying something now. This thing might go viral, y'all. You heard what I said? I was assaulted by officers who wanted to look at me while I was getting dressed and taking showers while I was in prison, right? And I went through those experiences. I had to stay inside because I had done so much stuff. I had so much beef when I went there. They were waiting for me when I went to Albion Correctional Facility. But I refused to go into PC, so I had to fight every chance I got. I would keep socks with cans in it under my bed. I would make early morning runs and just attack people because I knew they wanted to attack me. And I went through this life where I was broken, where all I had to do was fight. And I just knew that if they could take me out, that they was going to take me out. I've had guns put in my mouth. I have a friend that was with me that's on Facebook. I had a gun put in my mouth when guys were robbing me. That's why I shaved my hair off, because I didn't want them to know that I was a girl. I've slept on trains and in corners. And I look back at that life, at that moment. Listen, and my perspective then was that this was painful, this was broken, this is shameful. Look at what you did. You sold drugs to women who came with their babies. You watch what they did to her. You attacked people. You did all this bad stuff. And then one day, this man told me he wanted to create a business that worked with active gang members. And what I didn't realize is that God would use it and it would change my perspective on what I went through. It wasn't to put me down. It was to position me for now. How you perceive a thing. Jesus. How you perceive a thing is how you react to it. So I no longer look at my situation how I looked at it. I looked at it as a way, as a tool that God, even though it was so bad, he used it. He used it in this season, in this moment, to position me in a place with this unique skill set where I understand both the block and the boardroom. I know how to talk to you about the hood, and I also know how to close a deal behind the closed door. That's a skill set that not too many people have and can manage and can code switch. I had to change my perspective. What have you gone through in your life that you're shameful of, that you thought was the worst experience, that you didn't think that you would be able to ever use or God would be able to use it, that you still harbor and hide it? Today, I want you to build a bridge from there. Because if you change your perspective, you would realize there's bounty from that brokenness and is waiting for you on the other side. Is waiting for you on the other side. Perspective, the power of perspective. Engineer your expectations. Acknowledge when something is permanent or not. Because if you can't change it, you can classify it. Look for the benefits. There's bounty in your brokenness. There's profit from your pain. And set yourself up for takeaways. What you went through, there's a bridge that we just built today, that if you look again and see, it leads you to a place of power and position and purpose in God. I'm PKO. This is Coffee and Community Conversations. I do this every Saturday. Starting next week, we'll be back to having guest speakers on and engaging in topical conversation. But for the past couple of weeks, God has shifted me to talk to you about these things, right? Last week about the emotional dysfunction of social media, and today about your power of perspective. And I believe he did that because he wants you to understand how you see yourself and what social media does. You've been given divine diagrams for you to create the details of your life in line with what he's called you to do. Perspective. Perspective. I'm going to throw up some quotes. Erica said, "Thank you, Jesus, for saving me and keeping me when I was in the street life. So many times I was G&A, get arrested, beat, killed, seeing so much. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you for keeping Pastor Sis and me." That's right, Erica. It was for purpose, the perspective of it. Ask yourself. Remember, engineers communicate, problem solve, analyze, and plan. You communicated what you experienced. What problems can your past experience help solve? How can you analyze it in detail and then set up a plan to push you in a place of power and purpose? Shaniqua said, "Yes, you're enough. You're worthy. You're beautiful, and you pour into so many. Such an honor. Meeting you, I learned to stop hiding and being shameful of what I went through and how I grew up. I appreciate the God in you. Anointed, beautiful. Thank you. I appreciate you too." Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And so, guys, I have some incredible changes happening in my life. I have some incredible things that I'm going to begin offering you. I'm changing up the way I do things with Coffee and Community Conversation and Brave Lessons. And I hope that you guys stay with me for the ride. I hope you receive something today from Coffee and Community Conversation on the power of perspective. Y'all know that I come up here prepared with topics, but when the Holy Spirit blows in, I have to move. If I encouraged you, if you still need to be encouraged, I want you to inbox me and I want to pray for you. I want to encourage you to keep going because that's what I do. And before I go, I just want to tell you guys, my next class coming up is called The Formula for Fortitude. It's how to get the best out of the tests. This is in line with some of what I've been teaching. So many times we face things and we don't see how it can be used. If you're looking for a formula, I'm going to give you 4 ways, right, to find your fortitude and to use it for his glory and for your good. This class is going to be on October 17th. It is in the morning. And if you're interested, I want you to just inbox me, or you can be at the email address running across the screens. Y'all know I typically don't price anything. There is an investment for this one of $25, and that's because I need to know that you're really in it to win it. I'm going to work you. It's not like the masterclass I experienced. This is just going to be a 2-hour class, but you will get a workbook, an ebook that you can use to write in and use afterwards. You'll get access to the slide deck and the recording, right? It'll be a group format. It's going to be exciting. And it also includes a follow-up. So after you create your formula for fortitude, you're going to have 4 weeks to implement it. And you're going to come back and you're going to share with the people that also participated in that class what you've done in the past 4 weeks with your formula for fortitude. How do you get the best out of the test? It starts with you perceiving the test, not as a test, but as something different. I'm excited about that. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you guys for joining me today for Coffee and Community Conversation. Again, it's always an amazing time when I get to spend it with you guys. Always an amazing time when we get to talk. And so I look forward to leaning in and loving on you guys some more. And being here for you guys. Amen. You are in. Yes, can we Cash App? Yes, let me put the Cash App up. You know, these things is hard for me. Don't worry, I'm about to get help, y'all. Kalila Equips. The Cash App is Kalila Equips. So you can Cash App the $25 to Kalila Equips. I mean, look, bring a friend, right? Bring a friend, like get a business buddy or a buddy and tell them to come on, right? We all want to come in. We want to create a formula for us to be able to forge forward. How do you get the best out of the test? I'm going to use some of the examples I just gave you of my past experience and how I'm using some of those things to apply now. How I'm able to create programs and systems based on my past experience, right? In education. You can use what you went through to take you where you need to go. My goodness, it's going to be good. 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 So proud of you, Pointy. Thank you, Mother Darlene. Thank you so much. Thank you. And guys, one more thing. Before COVID, I hosted gather dining experiences. It was a monthly dining experience where women would gather and we would just simply break bread. There's no cost. You pay for your own food. It was just an opportunity for us to get together. I'm excited that since we moved into phase 3, we are going to begin gathering again, of course, with safety and with precautions. And so I want you guys to stay tuned to Brave Lessons on Monday, because I'm going to drop our next and first gather dining experience since COVID-19. I love you guys so much. I appreciate you. Yeah, Erica, I'll send it to you. Yeah, Cash App is fine. Yeah. And so I love you guys. I appreciate you. I hope you are encouraged and you receive something for today. Remember, there's power in perspective. How you see yourself will determine how you see everything else. Man, that's good. Don't judge a book by its cover. The cover is just the cover. There's also content. I hope you guys have an amazing day. If you need me, I'm an inbox away. Remember to be encouraged. Remember to be brave and be empowered to be powerful. Bye, guys.